Guys, I am super excited because in today's video, we get to take a look at gardening trends for this year and beyond. You're going to see some great ideas, whether you're planning your garden right now or you just wanted to tweak it a little bit. I hope you'll get some great value from this. If you have never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to my home and garden channel. Now let's take a look at these gardening trends. So for trend number one, it is plants with dark foliage. And these are some beautiful elephant ears in the backdrop right there. And aren't they absolutely gorgeous? I just love them. Over here, these are some celosia. And by the way, the plants that have these dark foliage, they're being referred to now as moody plants. But I like to take a lighter outlook on things. I just say they have rich tones. Celosia is beautiful. It's an annual, in colder zones, and it actually, you'll see them mostly like in the summertime and in the fall, in the colder areas. These darker colors are not restricted to just flowers. You'll also see it for fruits and veggies. So like this dark colored kale right here, you'll see that they're growing those next to some cabbages. You'll see like darker colored like red amaranth. You'll see darker varieties of okras and things like that. Over here, this plant with the same dark foliage is called cordyline. It's pretty much on the increase. You'll see them a lot more around you. These are some that we saw when we went on our cruise to the Bahamas, and they're flowering because they're actually in their, regular environment that they like in the tropics. Typically, like in our garden centers, you'll see them looking like this in the colder areas. These are paired so very well with the some sun patience right there. They can become house plants too, so you can have them year after year. Over here, we have some coleus, and you can see how they're looking there, that they're two-toned. It has that light green color. Some of them have a mottled finish, so it could be around the edges or it could just be like a mottled look along the plant. And this color combination brings me to trend number two, which is lime green plants. And this is not going anywhere. It's going to be with us for quite some time. This is where I did some on my porch here, where I had some dark caladiums, some begonias, and some creeping jenny. And I think it's beautiful. And again, this was in the Bahamas. Here they have some ginger right there with a lighter color. And then behind it, they had some dark colored crotons. And aren't they beautiful? So I think, they tend to complement each other, the dark and the light. And over here, these are some carrots. They're grass-like plants. And they are great for borders, like the edges around. They look really good there. And of course, it's not limited just to the foliage of the lime green. You also have the flowers that are lime green. And in many, many areas, you'll see a lot of limelight hydrangeas coming around. They have tall varieties like this one here, and they have the smaller ones. And I'll do a future video on limelight hydrangeas, so be sure to come back so you get to see that. Number three would be tropical foliage and tropical plants. So over here, you'll see this is a beautiful cana or cana, as some people call it. It is just so gorgeous. And in many areas, even though it's colder, because it is a tropical plant, but you'll have them coming back. Because like RB, the gardening nanny, she is in growing zone 6, and she gets them to come back every year. You just basically cover them with mulch, make sure they're protected, and they will come back for you year after year, especially if they're in the ground. Over here now we have some crotons, and they're seeing so many of these, in my area. I'm in growing zones 8, and they've gotten so popular over the last few years. These are some from my cousin's home in South Florida. They're so beautiful. I just absolutely love them. They're gorgeous. And because it's a tropical area here, they will keep growing year after year. They're perennials there. If you're in a colder area and you leave them outside, they most likely will not make it because they cannot handle cold weather like that. So the solution for that is what I do, which is that I bring it indoors. So these are some I've had for 4 years. In the past, I would put them out in the spring and summer. No, I just leave them inside all year round, and they do so well. They bloomed for me last year. I'm sorry I didn't capture the bloom, but another one is coming up, so I'm going to be sure to catch it this time. So I'll have it for a future video. It's pretty. No, it's small, the flower. And over here, they have some elephant ears combined with some more coleus, and it looks beautiful. Number 4 now would be the wellness gardens. That's a new one, fairly new. And it's just that people want to feel really well. They want to feel lighthearted. They want to feel positive, vibes when they look out. So they want to see like gardening things So you'll see larger windows at offices and homes so they can look out and see all of this. And what they want to see is not just plants, but also the wildlife that's out there. So looking out and seeing something like this is very calming and relaxing. And just based on how things have been going over the past few years, people definitely want that in their life, especially after coming through a pandemic with more people working from home. And I'll just have you take a look at this for just a moment to see how it makes you feel, and this is what they're pretty much going for. And moving on to number 5, trend number 5 would be gardens under glass. So what you'll see is that there are going to be tropical plants like these begonias right here growing in greenhouses in colder areas. So it's in the greenhouse under the glass, and that's what they're doing there. So you'll see quite a bit of those. This was actually at the Butterfly Garden in Albany, Georgia. On a smaller scale, you see people having things like these terrariums, where they grow them in, very small sizes, and people collect those. And I'll link those in the description box if you wanted any of those. Next would be green walls. Right here, this is a wall of orchids. These were at the Atlanta Botanical Garden. It doesn't necessarily mean that the plant has to be all green. You'll have flowering plants, but you can also have just plants that are all green, and they'll use like different colors and make like a mosaic. On a smaller scale, like what we have here too, you can just have like floating shelves or even, like racks like these that you arrange next to your wall to give you that same green wall effect. Number 7 would be urban and balcony gardens. Those are on the increase. There are more people in the city, but they want to be a part of nature. They want to bring it in, into their life, into their space. So you're seeing more and more people, having balcony gardens. This is my sister's right here. I featured in the previous video, and she did an awesome job to just make it a wonderful space. So whether it's suburban apartments or it's in the urban areas themselves, you'll see more and more of this taking place, and it's just relaxing, and you can really enjoy this small space or a larger space because this is a good size patio that she has right here. And not only does she grow flowers, but she also grows fruits and veggies. That's her lime tree right there. And she has some tomatoes. She has grown pepper. She has grown ginger. And we had done a previous video too a few months ago showing, her harvesting some of these tomatoes. And she has herbs on there as well too. So many, many things, can be done in that space. So it's just a matter of, using your imagination and using plants that will work in that area. What's also happening too is you'll see a lot more vertical gardens. So you'll see people going up, whether it's, plants that climb a lot like these right here. This looks like mandevilla. Or you may see people using like trellises for veggies. For example, this is my friend Sharon. She was growing some bitter melon here, but you'll see people growing like cantaloupes. They're growing them vertically now, squashes and things like that, which didn't happen in the past. And of course, your beautiful, trellises like these are arches. Like my neighbor has this one here, and it's just beautiful how the roses just cascade over. Moving on to number 8, and it's Holey Moley plants. And it's just plants that tend to have lots of holes, like patterns in the leaves where they're cut out. It's just a new thing that's going on right now. These are monsteras. Of course, they've been around forever and ever. Swiss cheese plants. You have philodendrons, different ones like that give you that effect. Moving on to number 9, that would be that you're going to be seeing less boxwoods. These are some boxwood that I have in my garden here. This is a holly bush right here, but these more, geometric shapes that are more, very well structured and all of that. Those are getting a little less. Plus the boxwoods tend to get diseases sometimes too, as they get older. So you'll see more of a free flow, like these that you're seeing right here. Ligustrum at the lower part. You may see things like Gora and other plants like that. And, they'll fill them in, like with the limelight hydrangeas and just different plants, give it a more eerie, more or less structured feel. These actually combine with ornamental grasses, which you typically wouldn't see something like that, but this is what they're going with. Or there's a lot of movement that comes along, like when the breeze comes through and it hits the ornamental grasses. And over here you can see how they have more hydrangeas here coupled with that. And just to say, I would love to invite you, or would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you have never done so before. I do lots of flowers and gardening topics. And, we have fruits and veggies that we grow as well. And, I like to exchange ideas with, fellow gardeners. So be sure to leave me a comment too, if you, see anything that you liked or anything that you would have done differently. Number 10 would be drought and fire tolerant plants. And the reason is that weather patterns are changing a lot. So we're having a lot more warmer temperatures, in the summer months and so on, even in the spring sometimes. So we're opting more now for plants that are more drought tolerant. Coneflowers are one of my favorites. I love growing these. They're very, very, very easy to grow, very easy to maintain. And I did a previous video on this. And so, by the way, you can always, go to my video tab under my channel. You can just scroll down. You can see previous videos. I try to link some of them for you, but I can't link all of them. So you can just, go in, and I try to make them that they're timeless for you as well too. So, over the years, they'll still be good for you. And ornamental grasses are great for droughts, but not so much for fires. So things like agave right here are perfect. They're very fire resistant. So you'll see these in like warmer areas that may be susceptible to that. Aloe vera is another one again that's fire resistant. This is a smaller one here, but it's going to get larger over time. And of course, it has wonderful medicinal properties. It can also be used for beauty as well. Over here too, you can see how the aloe vera was coupled with the other succulents that are there. And I think it looks so pretty. And you got it. I did a previous video on this as well. So again, if you scroll through my videos, you can always check up on those. These are some more succulents right here, and they look so good, I think, with the rocks right there. It just gives it that nice organic feeling. You can see that there is ornamental grass to the side. Moving on to number 11, and that would be rain gardens. And that's basically where people are setting it up so that they can collect the rainwater as it runs off to water their plants. You'll have little drums that are being used for that. Or you may even have structures where the water is made to go down to a particular area. The plants are put in there and they're watered that way. And this helps to conserve energy. And again, it's because of changes in the climate, weather patterns, we have to adapt to it. Number 12 would be like native gardens. So you'll see more, like native trees, native flowers that basically are easy to grow in the area where they are. And that way they tend to bring in, like wildlife in. So certain types of insects, pollinators that would come to them would basically be available to use those plants. And it helps us because, these pollinators help our garden. And these are some more coneflowers right here. And of course, and it's not just for, like bees, you think of pollinators, but it's also like for birds too, because the birds will come in and they'll have the seeds. And because it's something that's from that area, they will like it. And typically it comes back easily year after year for them. So it helps to supplement them. I just love to watch birds in my garden. It's so relaxing. My son caught that some time ago on video. And it's not just for perennials too, like coneflowers. It's also for annuals like these cosmos right here. And then over here we have some beautiful poppies. This was when we had gone to Pigeon Forge in Tennessee. And aren't these just absolutely beautiful? Every time I look at this, I think of like a Monet painting. If you're into paintings, it just reminds me of something that he might have done. I love the color combinations. And the wonderful thing about these plants is that, they produce the seeds. And so that way they self-seed. So they'll come back again year after year. And what happens with these two is like you see like lawns, people are tending to do smaller lawns on their property and more, like free flow like this. And so when you have plants like these and they reseed, it makes it easier and it's lower maintenance. You just need to keep it a little tidy. So it's good to have like, like walkways and paved areas around so that everything is not just like all over the place, like an open meadow, but it has some structure to it. And, it just works really, really well. Just look at these. Aren't they beautiful? And this right here is a beautiful butterfly that I saw on one of my pentas, and I was so happy that I was able to capture that for you. One thing I'll say though is to be aware of plants that are invasive. They may be native to the area, but they may be invasive, like this Bartlett pear. They're invasive in my area, so you don't want to be planting these. And in some places, actually restricted. They don't want you planting them, so definitely bear that in mind. And of course, it's good to set out things like, bird baths. It doesn't take a lot to set these out and pretty inexpensive. And it helps to bring, the wildlife in. And it's really good to see them through your window. Number 13 would be organic pest control and fertilizer. So people are tending to move more to cleaner products, things that they can make themselves at home. Over here, I'm basically showing in a previous video how I was able to use hydrogen peroxide. I use it as like an antifungal spray on like my rose bushes and other plants that are susceptible to that. And I just make the solution, and when you do it and you spray it, it helps to control them. Over here now, this is where I use vinegar. This video hasn't come out. It'll probably come out later, closer to the summer when the hummingbirds come out. But I'm using vinegar here to clean the hummingbird feeder instead of using, like your detergents. It's a little bit safer for them. And so you'll see more and more of those kind of things happening. Also, too, regarding the fertilizers, you'll see things like banana peel water, where people will, have the banana peel soak for a while and then just pour it on their plant, and it helps. Was it the phosphorus in there? I'm sorry, the potassium in there. It helps with blooming and things. I think there's phosphorus in there as well too. And also, using other plants to help to combat pests and diseases like marigolds. I absolutely love them in my vegetable garden. You've seen my previous videos talking about them. And I use them in my front garden for beauty, but when they're in the backyard, it's more for work, because it tends to attract the right pollinators. It keeps the bad ones away, and it also is good. The roots are good to control nematodes. If you ever have problems with nematodes, it's a very good plant to put. Or sometimes it can be a trap crop to attract bad bugs and then keep them away from your other plants. And moving on to the final one would be backyard orchard gardens. You will definitely see more of these happening where people are planting fruit trees in their backyards. And typically, if it's sold in your garden center, it means that, it will do well in your area. These are some peach trees right here. They're so pretty. Typically, you'd want to plant those, I would say, like in about maybe early to mid-spring or even late spring in some cases, when, once the ground it can be worked. If it's still frozen over, of course, you wouldn't want to try to plant anything. But once you get to that point, and typically you'll see them in your garden center, that's going to be a hint as to that it's a good time to plant them. So I hope that all of these trends that I showed here give you some great ideas as you plan your garden for the year. If your garden was already put in place and you just wanted to tweak a few things here and there, I hope that this will help you in that way. And like I said, many of these, will be here for quite some time. So it's not just like a pop in and pop out. They're going to be with us for quite some time. So I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll come back again to watch my future videos, and that you'll share it out with your friends that love gardening. Happy gardening, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.